Hi, good afternoon. If you're joining us on the East Coast of the United States, it's Monday, December 16th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If not, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Jack Benny, and I'm a Senior Managing Consultant for IBM Cloud for VMware Solutions. Today on this Twitch stream, we're going to be talking about our newest release of the VCS platform. Version 3.4, which was actually published today. It's a huge release. There's a lot of material in there. So as we've done in the last couple of releases, we wanted to get together with some of the development, architecture, or engineering team, whoever might be available, and kind of go step by step through some of the things that we've produced as part of this sprint cycle, as well as some of the decision points around that, what you can expect to see, etc. And today I have with me, I have Brian Buckland and Wei Chan, and just give you guys a quick minute to introduce yourself. Brian here, go ahead and say hello to the folks.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Buckland. I'm a solution architect for the VMware offering on IBM Cloud.
Awesome, cool. And where are you sitting today? Where's that white room that you're in?
This is my office in the Austin campus.
Awesome, cool.
Of the IBM building.
Excellent, thank you, sir. And Wei Chan?
My name is Wei Chan. I'm a dev lead for the services on IBM Cloud. I'm sitting in RTP, Raleigh, in the 500 building, in one of the small offices.
In the 500 building.
Yep.
Off, what's that, Miami?
Yep, Miami Boulevard.
Miami Boulevard. Yeah, right, yeah. Not like over on the other side, like buildings, what, 50, 51, 52.
62.
Yeah, 60, 61, 62, like those over.
Yeah.
There was an old cafeteria over there. I don't know if it still exists.
It's still there.
Yeah.
002.
Those old stomping grounds. So okay, cool. That brings back memories. What nice. So we're at the end of the year here. This is just my normal hat. I do live in Rochester, New York, and it's cold. It's definitely colder than North Carolina and Texas. We had our release today. We've got things such as Red Hat Openshift for VMware, and how that ties in with our single node trial for migration and application modernization. New version updates on a lot of the add-on services, as well as the vSphere platform itself. We have some new add-on services, enhanced, and we've moved a lot more, progressing maturity with, different complex network types, etc. And we're moving all towards that, and especially from a security and compliance perspective. So a lot to talk about. We'll just kind of go through. If the folks that are viewing on the live stream, if you have questions, please excuse me, feel free to pop those into the chat, and we'll address those as we can. And to put you right on the spot, Wei, so what were some of the things that were like standing out for you in this sprint in terms of the ability to get so much done in such a short period of time? Because our last release was towards the end of October, and then I think we did our release notes and we talked about it in early November. So this was just 5-6 weeks ago. What were some of the key things that stood out for you in this cycle?
The main thing we shipped for services specific was a Red Hat offering on top of VMware. And the main thing that stuck out was our prep work was really well from last release. So I think that in the last release, we spent a bunch of our time architecting Red Hat Openshift. Brian did a lot of that architecting as well. And that prepared us well for this release to implement and deliver. So,
yeah. Well, that you bring up a good point, because one of the things that I think that helps us, just from an agile perspective, and being able to have the level of frequency of releases that we have, right? We do stagger, a lot of research and development, and we do that combined work into engineering, and then subsequently into the actual development of, you know, automation behind it and things like that, and the actual making things work and being displayed through, you know, the various user interfaces. That really helps move along. And when you, especially when you come to an end of year like this, where there's so many things culminating, I think you hit a really good point there of being able to leverage, you know, a continual cycle of development in a true sense. So
Yeah, and the 8-week cycle for this one kind of helped out as well. So.
yeah, a little bit of a buffer for Thanksgiving
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So we could work 20 hours extra after we eat turkeys and things like that.
Yeah, we had a few people take vacation days, you know, so it helps with a little longer release and
Yeah.
more testing, you know, to solidify the code.
Okay, cool. So did you want to just kind of go through the release notes or bring it up and share it out on your
Yep.
screen? And
Yeah, I was gonna start with the main IBM cloud page and then
okay,
go to
cool.
Twisty, VMware. This is our offering page. Some loads. Now we go to doc, go to release note. Release note 3.4. So I guess the first thing new is the IBM security service for SAP. We go to our main page.
Okay.
So this is our VMware page, and if you scroll down to services, under feature workload solutions, you see the IBM service for SAP,
Okay.
which is a new offering. You click on it. It's basically IBM security working with Onapsis. It's a service that continuously monitors and provides protection for SAP application workloads and keeps them up to date with the threats and patches. So IBM Cloud doesn't have an automated way of deploying SAP workloads. So, but we do have a way of automating deployment of SAP clusters using SAP certified host.
Mm-hmm.
So this solution is more for customers that are bringing their own SAP workload to the cloud and using this service to monitor and protect and do what they need to ensure the SAP software is optimal, I guess, and secure.
Okay.
So this offering isn't automated. You have to send a request to the IBM security services, and they'll contact you and work with you on a one-on-one basis to, I guess, configure a architect for your specific solution. And once they do that, they'll help you from A to Z to implement solution while providing, you know, using the IBM best practices and having access to like IBM cloud experts to help you throughout the whole.
Right. Well, and so I think it's also important to note here, you know, when we're adding on, you know, like different services, for instance, or professional services, or even, you know, referring to managed services of certain types, you know, that's after, you know, once it's produced here and we have the documentation on it and it's delivered through, you know, what we would consider our IBM Cloud for VMware Solutions kind of landing page. These things are vetted through us and looked at, and you know, it's kind of a it's another check and a balance to other services that are provided, and especially third-party business partners and things like that. This is just kind of our validation, so I want to make sure that folks are aware that this is after. This isn't just, you know, us getting on the phone and saying, "Hey, what do you guys do? Cool, let's write it up and ship it out the door." There is thought process that goes into this and the proper due diligence. So I appreciate that. Cool. Anything else to add here?
No.
I mean, it's pretty. I mean, if you're not, if like, so here's the other thing, right? If you're not into security so much and you're not into SAP so much, this is maybe not very interesting. But this is also critical from our journey, right, of you know, SAP validated hardware, like you mentioned, and then we're going to see more and more of a culmination of different things as we progress into 2020 in this space. I can guarantee it. So,
yep.
All right, Brian, your thoughts?
Like you said, it's going to be a very interesting space coming into 2020. If, you know, this can provide people with the, you know, security platform for SAP. You know, SAP is such a big and monstrous system in itself, so to have something to help you along the lines is definitely worthwhile in the cloud platform.
I agree. All right, Wei, what else do we got?
Okay, let me go back to the main page quick. And the next new one we're going to talk about is Primary IO HDH.
HDM.
Oh, sorry, HDM.
Yeah, so if you want, I can talk to this one a little bit too. So this this is a third party company called Primary IO, and a really great bunch of folks over there, really smart, a lot of background in you know, traditional storage, you know, block level access for files, you know, file system and block level access to storage devices, etc. One of the key things here is that first line, right? It's the decoupling of the virtual machines and the storage, or, you know, as we're familiar, VMDKs. And that really allows for a couple of different things. One, to be able to allow for you know, kind of a rapid burst of particular data caching, a lot of high transaction databases, moving that just in and of itself to newer hardware. For instance, what, you know, an enterprise might see, you know, as on-premise capital expenditures are starting to you know, reach EBITDA type status, right, and things are starting to fall off and become legacy. Oftentimes, you know, and we've heard this story throughout the years, right? The last few years, Brian, of doing migrations, etc. You know, one of the things that is always stands out is, hey, once we moved workloads into cloud, all of a sudden they were faster, right? And that's a lot of it's taking advantage of software-defined networking, but ultimately a lot of that also is, you know, you have better processing cores, more memory, less retention of physical resources, etc.
Updated software, just patching levels, things like that always help out.
Exactly. So, you know, all right. So we conquered with, you know, VMware HCX and other tooling of migrating. We've conquered kind of like a different paradigm strategy of how we get those workloads across. Now this is even a more granular look into specifically decoupling the compute and the storage together to even allow more flexibility of dicing of those workloads. So we have that capability in and of itself, and then we also have you know, and that lends to the actual agile migration. What is particularly unique and what that I found very valuable with this tooling is that it's complementary to HCX. So the Primary IO folks have worked with the HCX team from VMware, vice versa. Obviously, we work with both of them together. So this is a just nice finishing touches towards that model, and then the ability to kind of like right size on premise, because one of the things that this offers right out the gate from HDM perspective is the ability to kind of look at a good baseline snapshot of the usage of the IO directly onto the VMDKs for the workloads, and then identify or give more information to identify the workloads that are best suited to move, which ones are best suited to move, you know, from a caching perspective, from a data storage perspective, and then subsequently for compute perspective. So this is we've been working with these folks all year since VMworld of last year, and we went through a lot of effort to get this all integrated and stuff. So I'm particularly excited about it. So hopefully this will add some value to particularly enterprises that have high intensive input output at their data level. So. Wait, did I cover that one okay for you? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All right.
Much better than me.
No. Thank you. All right. So yeah, I mean that's what I have on that topic. Unless you guys had something more.
No.
All right. Let's keep cruising.
All right. So next is the Red Hat Openshift offering. It's our first automated OpenShift deployment on IBM Cloud. It's built on top of the vCenter VMware using VMs. Let me go to the overview real quick.
Okay.
So we're deploying 4.2, which is, I believe, is the latest OpenShift.
Yep.
We're using 3 master nodes and 3 worker nodes, all running Core OS. We have 2 edge VMs that we deploy. We have a Red Hat Core template that we leave on the VMware instance so that you can deploy more worker loads later if you wanted to. We have a Bastion VM that is used to deploy the initial cluster, and the same Bastion is used to deploy extra worker nodes if you need it. There's also a bootstrap that gets temporarily deployed during install time that gets deleted later on for the deployment of OpenShift. So requirements is 79 vCPUs. This is a 3-to-1 ratio from cores to vCPUs. We reserve the full RAM, so 155 and about 1 terabyte of storage. The Bastion, as I said, is used to deploy the initial cluster and for extra worker nodes. So the Core
the
OS.
Bastion host, I was just going to say, on the Bastion host, it's left there for people to ongoing manage their OpenShift environment. That's where the OpenShift client is, so you can interact with it through, that's where kube control and all the other sort of commands are all maintained for you. So, they've got a centralized, place where they can expand the cluster, decrease the cluster as they move forward. So, we were, at the end of it, I think we provide the root credentials to this box to the customers via the IBM portal so that, they can take over and manage this themselves.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So next is the SSH key. So the Core OS for the workers manager have no root password. So only way is going through the Bastion and using the SSH key to SSH into the workers and master. Next is the installation file. We keep a backup version of it on the Bastion, just in case when you deploy more workers, you'll need this file to generate the initial files for the workers, for new workers. Red Hat subscription. So you don't need a subscription to deploy the cluster, but you need the subscription to get support for the cluster. So in order to get support for a cluster, when you deploy the cluster, we automatically register the cluster to your account, to Red Hat account, via the pool secret, which we'll talk about later. Once it's registered in your account, you can log into your Red Hat account, you'll see the cluster, and then you need to assign the subscription to the cluster before you can get support for the cluster, before you can start opening Red Hat issues, entitlements.
And is that like tied in, is that like tied into the Red Hat subscription manager? Or is that separate?
Yes. So this offering is bring your own license for this model. So as part of you would have your own Red Hat license, and there's a pool secret that you need, which sort of ties in, saying that this is the OpenShift cluster, and then that's how they work out your entitlements. And then based on that, you can get all your support and entitlements for your Red Hat cluster.
Okay, yeah.
Your Red Hat, your OpenShift cluster.
So it's basically taking the information from the instance once it's installed, logging into my Red Hat, with my credentials, plugging in that number, and then that'll give me the entitlements that I need. Or am I doing it the wrong way? So I have my Red Hat ID, my licenses, then I register that with this deployment.
Yes.
Entitlement. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Later.
Gotcha.
So yeah, here's the steps to do it. Let me cover that.
Okay.
Yep, we just configure the kube admin access. We can cover that later. So we have a documentation for updating your Red Hat OpenShift version. I think it's pretty simple. You just go to UI and the OpenShift UI and click the button, and it gets updated pretty quickly and pretty reliably from what we can tell. So considerations is you gotta make sure there's enough space. We do have a validator before you install OpenShift that will verify that you have enough space. The cluster will be associated with an account, so you need a pool secret. Pool secret is something that when you go to the Red Hat account, your account, you grab this secret that has your username and auth credentials inside the pool secret, and you give it to us. And we use that pool secret to get authorization to Red Hat to download all the binaries that we need to install OpenShift and to register your cluster to your account. So another consideration is if we haven't seen this in our lab, but we haven't really stress test our cluster. But if you're having performance issues in your OpenShift cluster, OpenShift recommends setting this latency sensitivity to high, which effectively reserves all the CPU and RAM for the VMs, for the worker nodes, to ensure better performance. That's just a consideration. So consideration when you remove, we do delete the data store that is ordered. If you're using vSAN, it's deployed straight to vSAN, so we don't touch that. You would have to delete that manually. We do delete the storage if it's NFS, and we just delete the NSX edges and the VXLAN for OpenShift, which is next. Yeah, I mentioned the vSAN data storage. vSAN data store we don't touch. We deploy straight to vSAN, and then we leave the VMDKs during the removal of OpenShift.
So as a OpenShift administrator, and if I'm using it currently on-prem, what are some of the key considerations that I need to think about, deploying this, integrating to my environment, for instance, and Wei, Brian, either one of you, what do you guys, and Brian, I know that you've been very involved too, right from the day one. So like, as we see this, we see the different stories, and we assist with the different enterprises and the different things. What are some of the things that you would think are the kind of key takeaways with the integration that we have with OpenShift on top of the VMware platform for IBM Cloud?
Yeah, so just to go back to the OpenShift platform, what we're automating, 3 master nodes, so it's a highly available configuration, and we're deploying an initial 3-worker node cluster for you. So, it's all highly available, highly redundant. We're utilizing NSX edges to provide us capabilities around, DHCP, load balancers, their firewalls. There's a lot of things, a lot of benefits this environment's giving to you from, being software defined, either networking or software defined load balancers, DHCP, etc. So I've heard the quote that 80% of OpenShift workloads run on a VMware platform. So by having this offering gives customers a quick way to spin up an environment, get it up and running that's in a secure enterprise grade environment. Out of the box, we've got it set up with an NFS server, so it has the registry set up for you, so you can, you have read, write, execute, or read, write many, I think they call it, capability. And then from there, we've also provided an example configuration where we're mapping in the persistent volumes back against a VMDK sitting on either your NFS data store or on a vSAN data store. So, as you're growing your environment, you can just increase your VMDK sizes, and this capability is going to keep growing in the future. The whole storage and the VMware piece is going to get tighter and tighter coupled. So, and in our, I guess, the last thing we've got in here is the Red Hat OpenShift environment is, to authenticate against it, we set it up with the initial kube admin, the internal database. We have links out there telling you how you can integrate that into the Active Directory that we provide as part of the VMware solutions, or you can integrate that directly back to yourselves with your on-premise instance and provide that finer grained role-based access control that people desire.
And that would be using IDM from VMware to manage.
No, so OpenShift is just using straight Active Directory. So when you go to, I guess in the future, when we look at OpenShift with NSXT, when that's supported in 2020, then, because we're running the latest OpenShift, we're looking for NSXT next year, that's when the IDM piece will come into the picture.
Okay, gotcha. So Wei, now, that kind of ties in then from, a modernization perspective, and I think this is part of the release notes as well, and also the deprecation of what was formerly known as IBM Cloud Private and how kind of those two things merge. To kind of summarize those things together, from a release perspective, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, that's the right direction, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
ICP and Red Hat are like direct. They're basically doing the same thing, and Red Hat is our strategic path. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's just a natural thing to do, I believe. So,
okay, great, cool.
Yeah. And I guess, the other thing to highlight here is that this is also available on our single node trial for app modernization.
Yep.
So, you can deploy a small environment to have this up and running and, test out the various components of our app modernization story, which includes HCX, OpenShift, etc.
Right. Which again, just in a nutshell, is hey, I have VMware legacy workloads or other legacy workloads, and eventually I want to write applications that are taking advantage of like cloud native type languages and other APIs and stuff available. So how do I get there, right? And so the application modernization journey starts with a kind of like, all right, well, let's start taking advantage of better hardware and better updated software versions, etc., moving those VMware workloads into cloud. Now that those are there, now let's in parallel give you that runway and the landing zone for container-based applications. Start moving those, identifying which ones are suitable to be placed in containers, which ones are not suitable yet, and then determining, okay, any new application requests or those are going to be written natively, and this kind of offers that like whole sandbox, if you will, to be able to do all of those things effectively. So this is really, really cool.
yeah,
Definitely awesome from a systems administrator or IT director perspective of how do we get all this done to meet objectives of the business, right? So
yeah. So one thing to note to add is like single node app modernization. We don't provide any type of actual license for Red Hat, so customers can't open Red Hat issues against their single node trial.
Right, because that's just
like
the
sandbox,
taste,
yeah.
the taste of the cola, right? But that does give the whole taste. I mean, like like we've said before, right? We could talk about it and show people it and everything like that, but that really gives them the hey, the ability to actually and we work with them to make sure that those trials are successful, and then things that are obviously not everything is exactly the way that is expected all the time. However, those little things that do kind of fall off, we're able to quickly react to those and then turn those back into the platform if it makes viable sense for all enterprises, or come up with workarounds that are suitable for the business objectives. So that's really super cool. There was a question in the chat, and I'll pause here after the end of OpenShift. One of the was around some of the work. We talked about SAP, and I think the question was around what other work in the database field or in the database arena, if you will, in terms of our work with VCS and what kind of roadmap stuff. Now, obviously, from a perspective of whatever VMware's support for, let's say, Microsoft SQL and Microsoft SQL's best practices for Microsoft SQL in a virtual environment. We've seen those many times, so that's nothing really too special there. From an Oracle perspective, we've also been involved with many different very large customers that are hosting Oracle RAC in IBM Cloud for VMware. And we've developed best practices guides. Those a lot of that information falls in particularly with migration aspects, along with in our HCX documentation and our best practices guide for HCX. But from the thing with Oracle RAC in Microsoft SQL is that they are very mature in terms of being able to run on VMware. I mean, been doing it for at least a decade, right? My own self. So the SAP is relatively new in comparison. So that's getting there. But hopefully that answers that person's question in the chat. I just wanted to quickly address that. Way back to you from a release notes perspective. So I think we can kind of gloss over and get right past the ICP deprecation notice and pick up where we're.
All right, I was going to show you some of the panels for the OpenShift.
Oh, okay, cool. That's
Is that
fine.
cool?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's only like one panel. So I believe.
Let's check it out.
Let me see. Nope, this one. Yep, this one. So
this
So
is
this is
page.
yeah, this is the ordering page of a new instance. I tried to do it on a existing instance, but it was being too slow, so I just did it on a new instance. So I just picked a random stuff. But the most important part is this section right here. So when you add OpenShift to a instance, you get first a checkbox saying you understand that you need the order description. It's bring your own license. We don't provide any license. As I said, you don't need the license to deploy OpenShift, but for support, you need it. And the second thing we ask is the poll secret. So this is just logging your account and grabbing a poll secret that has your Red Hat ID and a authorization tokens in there to download stuff and to register your cluster to Red Hat. And then here is the price, which is, because this is a vSAN environment, is only like $32 a month for OpenShift because we don't order storage. We only order 2 networking subnets, one public and one private. The private 64 addresses, the public 16. Let's see if I change this to NFS. And the price should go up for OpenShift.
If I choose to deploy OpenShift and I choose to deploy NFS only and not use vSAN, what's recommended for my IOPS? Do I want to
Oh no, we actually order storage for you for Red Hat. We choose two IOPS per gigabyte.
2 IOPS. Okay.
Yeah, 2 IOPS. That's what we.
But that data store is placed as part of the add-on when you order OpenShift.
Yep.
On top of
Yes,
okay,
it's a 2 terabyte disk. We use about 1 for the infrastructure and then 1 terabyte for customer workloads.
Okay.
If they need more, so you see services jumps to 206 per month because of the 2 terabyte storage that we order. Okay. The next one is this is after you provision Red Hat. It gives you the summary page from the services. 4.2. This is the bastion for ongoing. Making a cluster bigger or smaller. User password. This is an installation directory that you need to generate the ignition files. This is the the RSA key to log into the VMs. This is the application address to log into OpenShift. So if you click here, it should take you right to OpenShift.
Nice.
I think that's all I wanted to share for OpenShift. Do you guys have any things to add?
No, I think we've covered it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
What else do we got?
Let's see. So we talked about the single node. We talked about deprecated. Next is the vCenter versions. So we updated to 6.5 U3 this release.
Okay.
So you see the EXIs go up, the appliance goes up to U3, and then the PSC goes up to U3 as well.
U3. Okay.
Yep. We don't upgrade existing instances. So these are all for newly deployed instances. You choose 6.3 U3. 6.5 U3. Existing instances, customers responsible for upgrading to themselves. So it's the same thing. 6.5 U3. I believe you can still order U2 if you wanted to on new instances as well.
And 6.7 U2 is still there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's all for 6.5 vCenter. Next is the add cluster. We just allow more than one cluster to be created at one time. It's basically mainly for time preference. So you don't have to wait 4 to 8 hours for every cluster in sequence. You can just do it all in one time. I'm not sure more you can talk about that.
Yeah, that was requested, right? Yeah, I mean, initial provisioning stuff, we've gotten really fast, especially even adding on clusters to existing platforms. But yeah, the ability to do multiples, especially for those cases where there might be, you know, a shorter maintenance window, for whatever reason. I mean, typically ads aren't in a maintenance window, but sometimes they are. So if they are, then the ability to do multiples at a time, to stack those parallel is perfect.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so next is the add-on services. F5 15.0.1, all the high trust went up, and Spectrum Protect went to 10.1.5. These are just mainly to keep these services up to date. Nothing, no real reason why we updated them. Just certain, just to get the latest. Next big
Which
one.
is a
Keeping
good
everything
reason.
current.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep everything current.
A very good reason.
The next one is the mission critical stuff. Basically, we have, I think, what 6 MZR data centers in across, I guess, the world where we deploy so that we can get DR, disaster recovery, HA in our environments. I believe we deploy into 3 clusters. And the management is on 2 of the clusters, independent with HA between them. The workload is a stretched cluster between the 2 sites. And then there is a 3rd site for the witness. I guess that's just mainly a tiebreaker to make sure everything's going smoothly. I can go through the panels. Where is that? Here you go.
So a lot. So this, I mean, this has been here. I think a lot of the work that we did this sprint was around, you know, updates around documentation, and, you know, working out, because right now as it stands, the mission critical, it's obviously complex, or it's more complex. So there's professional services type engagement around that, right? So there's some effort, there's some logistics that need to be kind of discussed, and some, you know, kind of preliminary architecture work from, you know, integration perspective, etc. So I think a lot of that's been you know, polished to a degree.
Yeah, so
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, my understanding of the deployment at the moment is that we have, for the management cluster, we have 2 hypervisors in each of the 3 data centers, so 6 in the management plane. As Wei said, you've got your primary, secondary, like your first 2 data centers, and then you have your 3rd one, which is your witness server. So he's sort of like the, you know, to prevent split brain within your environment. So, you know, what is the controlling controller, which is the controlling vCenter? You know, it's the witness to make sure the other 2 sites are available, and, you know, where the failover needs to occur. And then on the 2nd cluster, or the workload cluster, is where we have our stretched vSAN environment. So you're providing that seamless failover between data center 1 and data center 2. And I believe that's another 6-node deployment in there as well. So, you know, in order to keep stretched vSAN highly available, you need a minimum 6 nodes so that you can, you know, maintain it and, you know, grow it as you need. So.
Yeah.
No, I think that's, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a 12 node. I think it initially starts out as a 12 node for your mission critical, because it's the stretch vSAN as well as the managed, you know, it's your workload cluster and your management cluster combined.
Right. Cool.
Yep. So under services, you see the new tile, IBM Cloud for VMware mission critical workload. And I can show you some of the stuff here. Order stretch cluster. So this is some of the medium sample, medium. You can choose.
So tell us the
Click on
difference.
the topology diagram.
Actually, go up a little bit. What's
Sorry.
the single zone versus multi-zone? That's just the regular.
That's just that's just regular deploying like a regular VCS in our
cool.
cloud. And this
That
is
makes
the stretch mission critical.
Nice.
So you wanted to click on a top topology.
Yeah, I think the topology diagram just sort of gives you a breakdown of what I was discussing previously.
Exactly.
So we've got your 3 sites and the different storage options, and then showing that stretch vSAN across the bottom for your workload.
Yep. And so in this diagram, site C is your witness. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was looking at the legend, but it was kind of tiny on my screen, so I was just, yeah, cool. Thanks.
Okay. So I'll just quickly go through some of these. Dallas. We use Dallas a lot, so licensing, VSX, vSAN, NSX. This isn't too. Witness cluster. I think there's at least 2 bare metals in the witness cluster, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So you configure each cluster independently. So you choose a witness. This is the management cluster for vSAN summary. This is a stretch vSAN cluster for the workloads.
Mm-hmm.
Network interface. I guess here's a good diagram. But other than that, I think that's all I have for stretch clusters.
Okay.
Anything you guys want to add for stretch clusters or mission critical workload clusters?
No, I mean the only thing. So I mean, is the consultation a requirement to deploy this? Like the professional services a requirement to deploy this? Or now that this is built into order as a stretch, will that allow me, if I wanted to do it on my own, do that without engaging?
I think it gives you an option of you can go either on your own or ask for advice.
So that is, I think, a key new one as well, right? Because I think prior to this, wasn't it just only through professional services? Maybe I'm wrong.
It was only through professional. I think it was only through professional services.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So
yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. This is a really big deal. This is huge. Because I mean, then that in effect you could have a successful, true stretch vSAN, or I for some reason my brain still wants to call it a stretch metro cluster, but I know that's not correct anymore. But
you're showing your age there, Joe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But yeah, no, this is really cool to have it completely automated to deploy. All right, here's my management stack. Here's my actual workload stretch cluster with vSAN, and here's my witness topology. This is really a tremendous amount of work.
Definitely,
yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah. Cool. Good job. All right. What else we got here?
Next is documentation updates. This is the initial critical architecture. I don't know how far do you want to?
Not far. No, but see, this is good because, and this is something important to stress. I think, obviously, we think that this documentation is important. We spend a lot of time to make sure that every single question that we get in during our day, whether it be we're helping with pre-sales or third party or business partners, direct to clients. If we're dealing with different audiences, all the way from CTO, vice president of decision makers, down to, hey, how is this really going to affect me as a systems administrator, and vice versa, all across the board. So that's super.
So next is the upgrade of NSX.
Go here, click this, look at this,
Yeah.
grab this. Okay, good. Like I said, and this is great because it's here. And the way we do our documentation is, when maybe perhaps an error or a typo, or even an anomaly or whatever is discovered, we can quickly modify that. It's the arbiter, the golden collection of all our documentation. And just a hint to anybody that might be looking for any particular answer, it's typically in here somewhere, right? And the search does work very well. And so I would oftentimes, if any question that I don't know right specifically off the top of my head, I'll almost go here immediately and find my answer. Very, very detailed, because we do spend a lot of time on it, even if it's something that I hadn't necessarily been personally involved with. So I'm proud of the work that we do with our documentation. So thank you.
Spectrum Protect updates. Let's see. I believe the only thing changed was the version, and I believe the VSnap increased their footprint.
Yep.
But other than that, I believe is all the same as previous release. Let's see. SRX guide. Brian, you want to comment on this one?
This is another huge one. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like this, we've been working on all year. I mean, Brian, like, so basically I'll just talk just a little short period. Like, so this is along with, how do we offer all kind and actually conquer all sort of complex type of networking, especially when you get into, I have all this existing different data centers. I want to be able to use this. I want to be able to move IPs, et cetera, et cetera. This is a huge thing we've been working on all year. It's hard to know where even to start, but I'll give it to you, Brian, to try to figure out.
Yeah. Like as Jack said, this is something that we've been working on all year. This is essentially providing a firewall capability to our VMware environment. So, once again, utilizing our skills in automation to help our customers get things delivered quickly. So, we're looking at being able to provide, we have a Juniper SRX appliance at the moment, and, and that's on the KVM hypervisor. And, we're looking at capabilities to be able to even start running that on our ESXi hypervisor as we move forward. So, this is all, I guess, stepping stones in, completing our secure SCDC stack on IBM Cloud, having firewalls, the software-defined networking, the storage, all the add-on services. It's just another piece of the puzzle. And, the SRX Juniper is the one that we're going with to begin with.
So this is more of like a documentation and helping the customer get to it, right? Manually. Is that a good summary or no?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So this, I think to get this running like on the ESXi, I think that's a manual thing at the moment. And I think that will probably change in 2020.
Yeah, okay. And we've had a lot of cases this year that some of our partners and our customers actually, that's where we kind of joined forces in getting this together, and then very, very good guidance. There's going to be even more guidance being published as we move into 2020. Just in terms of how to accomplish different use cases, etc., with the run books that go with those, or the cookbooks, if you will, to actually be able to achieve those easily. So really, really good stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Next, REST API.
What's new? What do we get?
That I'm actually not sure.
General updates and
I think it's general. I don't think we have anything specific that I know of. All right, next.
Little trusty APIs.
So the first is the enhancement of the landing page. So let me go to the landing page. Whoops. So VMware.
So this is like the pre-order type landing page is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is our main page where you go to the vCenter to deploy, or you want to go to services down there to deploy whichever service you want.
Yeah,
Let me check. It says single node trial section has been removed, got replaced by feature services. This is the single node trial app monetization, single node trial risk foresight. So these two got moved into this section, and it used to be in its own little single node trial section.
Right.
Let's see, what else? And then we have this new feature workload station solutions with, I don't know what Horizon 7 is, but this is what we talked about earlier in the release.
Okay. Horizon 7 would be the virtual desktop infrastructure components that are available on IBM Cloud.
Okay. And then
you sounded so excited about that. No, I'm just kidding.
All
It's
right.
like, oh, okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just lots going on.
Yep. So next is the public-private VLAN. So when you order a new cluster, you can choose which VLAN you want your cluster to be in. Let me see if I example. This one. So this is, I'm adding an NSXT instance, and here down in networking session, you can order a new VLAN or select an existing one. Before, when you select the existing one, you have to put all of it in one single VLAN. Now you can choose your public VLAN if you want it. Oh,
awesome.
You can choose public, private, and you can choose your storage VLAN as you want. But I don't have an example. I guess this one doesn't.
Yeah, there would have to be one that you would have to already provision into the account. But this was useful, and I think that was our stepping stone to get to that. Was like, okay, well, if there's existing workloads that are, existing whatever devices that are out there in IBM Cloud, and I want to add some new, I want to add VCS into some other things that I already have out there. How do we easily merge those, etc. Or if we're adding, let's say we're actually moving a platform underlying, or we're going through some weird hardware change or something like that, where we have to spin up a new instance, move things over, and then shut down. There's a lot of different use cases for that. The stepping stone, back to my point, was all right, fine, if you have these existing things, just like we'll dump this new creation into that one VLAN. Being able to separate these out now gives much more flexibility, and it really reduces some of the workaround steps that are needed, or manual steps that are needed when achieving some of those goals. So cool.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to this? Or?
No, this is really cool though.
Yeah.
It warms my heart.
So next is the save configuration button on the order summary page. So I believe you can go up here. Sorry, hold on. Let me move over. So once you price everything out, you can hit save configuration. So it saves configuration so that when you come back, you can just load it up and be ready to go. This is very convenient for companies that need like approvals from management. So they do the configuration and get the price, calculate PDF. They submit it to management, and when it comes back, they need a way to load it all up the exact same as what they configured, versus manually going and matching what they did. So this is more for customer convenience.
Yeah. So no more. I got to print it out and then and then remember which line goes to what thing as I'm typing.
Yeah.
So that's a nice enhancement for sure. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Was there anything else that we're missing, or do we cover?
No, there's like various
Okay.
tooltips and message and stuff like that, but I think we cover everything so far.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean that took a good hour to get through. Obviously, there's tons and tons of information in there for those that are interested to read the details, and they are listed out there. So, any last minute takeaways, Brian?
No, I think there's a lot in this release. There's a lot of capabilities and features being added. Yeah, I just hope everyone has a good holiday. Enjoy your time off.
Cool. Yeah, for some people, maybe, right?
Maybe.
And what about you, Wei?
No, nothing to add.
Nothing there. All right, cool. So we are on target for our next release of VCS platform. February 24th, I believe, is the date. So
Yes.
if this proves to be useful and they like our company, and we'll come back and do another Twitch stream, and we'll go through the release notes on it. I want to thank Brian and Wei for joining me today, and also behind the scenes, Mia Moore, who's doing the production work for us. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Jack Benny. Happy holidays, winter solstice, whatever it is that you may or may not participate in this year. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye.
See you later.